All right, how's everyone here doing today? I'm sorry for everyone watching on Facebook. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, and you only get to see my face and not Robyn's. But I did leave the Zoom link right here as well. So the Zoom link is available for you guys. So if you guys want to just hop into the Zoom as well, you're more than welcome to do so. But today I'm here with Robyn. Hopefully you guys could also hear her. I'm going to put my speakers up just a little bit, so this way you guys could also hear her at the same time. So this way you can feel free to blast off some questions as well. So let's get this started. I want to thank you all for coming by to episode 3 of the UnlockNJHomes Live. It's a really exciting time. Today, I'm just hoping you all are staying healthy during these crazy times. And today I'm really honored to be hosting our special guest, SuperLawyer Robyn Ross from Ross Calandrillo in Mountainside. She is an absolute rock star. If you guys haven't connected with her yet, I'm going to leave her link down below as soon as we get off. So this way you guys could connect with her on Instagram and Facebook as well. So with that being said, I just want to introduce you guys to Robyn as well. You know what, let me try this. So how's it going, Robyn?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well. So for those of you who don't know anything about you, I know you know a couple of people that I'm connected with, but for those of you who don't, you mind just telling them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am a family law attorney. My law firm is Ross Calandrillo in Mountainside. We are a full practice or full service family law firm. So that a lot of people say, what exactly is family law? That's divorce, custody, child support, adoptions, domestic violence issues. We handle all of that, really the full gamut of family law services. I am a certified matrimonial attorney. And basically what that means is that the New Jersey Supreme Court put me through all of these rigors and tests and crazy applications to make sure that I know what I'm doing. I'm also a certified mediator, so I do a lot of mediations as well. And then what else about me? I'm an oversharer on Facebook. I share all of my food on Facebook. I'm one of those people that photograph every meal and share it on social media.
I don't know anything about those type of people.
So that's pretty much me in a nutshell. Like you said, I'm a fellow food and coffee enthusiast, so I like all of those sorts of things. And basically, that's it for me. I'm a Jersey girl. I was raised here in New Jersey, and I'm happy to be a Union County resident. So that's me. That's it. I'm a Libra. What else? I feel like people want to know, all of those fancy things. I like a good dirty martini. I don't know. There we go. That's me.
That's true. We've definitely gone to a couple of occasions where you've had a few of those.
Last time was your birthday, and I think I stopped at 3, and I said, okay, we need to cut me off now.
so funny story. Robyn and I, we met over about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago at this point. We were at Casey Eggers' event. This is when Blackthorn was still around.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Blackthorn and Kenilworth, but I was sitting in a group with a couple of people from Cultural Estate, and Matthew Victoria actually dropped by, and he was like, everybody just go on Facebook real quickly and just drop a post saying, does anybody know a divorce attorney, or I'm looking to connect with a divorce attorney. And Casey responded immediately. She was like, how did you miss Robyn?
We were literally at the same event.
Exactly. You left the moment I dropped that comment, and the next thing you know, we met at I think we met at Bovella's the day or two after that, and on Mountainside, right by AMC.
Yep. Yep. Memory. Now that you're saying all of this, I go, no, that's exactly how it happened. That's exact. But I do remember that comment on Facebook. And Casey goes, I don't understand how any of this happened. Literally, just left this event.
Huge thank you to Matthew Victoria for making that suggestion.
And here we are.
And here we are, guys. So let me ask you something. How has COVID-19 been affecting your business?
So as of right now, the biggest effect is that we don't have as much access to the court system as we usually do. Business-wise, I'm not going to say that things have slowed down very much. People who want to get divorced typically still want to get divorced, if not more so now that they're stuck in the house together. They really realize, like, you know, I was thinking about divorce before, but now it's like, it's solid. I know I need to get divorced. But I think that the biggest impact that we've had as practitioners is that we can't necessarily run to court the way that we used to be able to. If there's an issue within our cases, we can't go out and file motions, and we can, but you know, the courthouse really has slowed down. Interestingly enough, for me, I almost think that's a good thing in some ways. I know.
Okay.
It's a good thing because we're kind of forced to work some stuff out. Whereas before, you would just run to court, litigate, litigate, litigate. Now I think people are a little bit more having an eye towards trying to resolve things through alternative dispute resolution methods, trying to use mediation, trying to have conversations. Even as attorneys, we're having conversations with each other saying, how can we resolve this without going to court? Because at this point, you may not be back in court until summer. So that's probably the biggest impact just on the practice, that really, unless it's an emergency, you're probably not necessarily getting in front of a judge right away unless it was something that was pre-scheduled or something that can happen telephonically or by Zoom. And the courts are getting up to speed with that, with doing Zoom conferencing and trials by Zoom. So we're kind of getting up to speed.
Are you expecting divorce rates to increase because of the quarantine?
Yes. So I did recently read an article out of China, because a lot of things are coming as far as, you know, what we can expect out of China. And out of China, the divorce rates did in fact increase after all of the quarantining took place. So I really think that there is an expectation that divorce rates are going to go up, but I'm looking at it in this way. I don't think that they're going to go up necessarily because people who otherwise did not want to get divorced now suddenly want to get divorced. I don't think that that's really what it's going to be. I think that the quarantining and the self-isolation and being around maybe a person that you otherwise might have wanted to divorce, I think it's just holding a magnifying glass to it. So I think after this is all over, a lot of people who that might have been in the pipeline anyway, or they were thinking about it, I think it will cause a little bit of a boom. So I don't necessarily know that COVID-19 in and of itself is going to make people want to get divorced, but I do think it might, just like I said, hold a magnifying glass to issues that were otherwise there, that were there anyway, you know?
Okay. We got some more attendees in here now. Just adding Sally into this. Awesome. This is actually really good to know. So, you know, just based off of that fact itself, you know, obviously the stimulus checks are coming in and everything. Do you have any suggestions for people specifically with those?
Yes. If you want to hear about the stimulus checks, I did post a 60-second tip yesterday. So if you follow me on social media, look for that. It wasn't 60 seconds. It was like 3 minutes long because there was so much said about the stimulus checks. So there's a couple of things that I think people need to know about that. The first thing is, if you have child support arrears, they can take those arrears out of your stimulus check. I say that they can. I'm not saying they absolutely will, because as the first round of checks are coming out today, we're going to find out what exactly they're doing. They are going through the IRS. So for people that usually get a tax refund and that refund is garnished because of child support, they're going to have the ability to take money out of that check. There is an exception within the law. Whereas other things, like if you have, let's say, tax arrears, or you owe student loan payments or things like that, they can't take that. The law specifically said we can't touch the check, but they made a specific exception for child support. So if you have arrears, they said that we can touch your check for. So for example, if you owe $200 of child support arrears and you're supposed to get $1,200, you might end up with $1,000. They'll take that $200. They can take it, but they're not saying that they will necessarily, but they can. The other thing that I think that people aren't really thinking about is they're going off of your filing, your last filing. If you didn't file for 2019, they're going off of 2018. So how did you file in 2018? Did you file married? If you filed married in 2018, maybe you were married at that time and now you're divorced, that $2,400 that you're getting as a married couple, if you fall within the threshold, that's going to go to the bank account that was identified on your 2018 return. So a lot of people are kind of freaking out. I mean, I've had this situation happen myself where, there was a joint account. Maybe that account's not really active, or maybe one of the spouses had their account. That's where the direct deposit went. And now that person got the whole 2,400. So then the person said, well, now wait, I want my half. And that's becoming an issue. There are things in place, and I did hear that by tomorrow, I believe that it is, you can go on and change your direct deposit account and do all of those things. But that's one of the issues that people are running into as well. Same thing with the dependents. It depends on who claimed the dependent. So if you're looking for that $500 for your child, if your spouse claimed the dependent or your ex-spouse, because a lot of times in divorce, people alternate. Like, you could take the kids 1 year, I'll take the kids another year. So let's say for 2018, that's what you're going off of. If your ex-spouse took the children, your ex-spouse is getting the $500 for each child, wow, not you. So there's a lot of things that need to be worked out, and it can be a little bit messy, especially for those people that got divorced and maybe they don't necessarily speak to their spouse anymore. They're not really on friendly or speaking terms. It could be a little tough to work out, give me my half of the stimulus because you got all of it. So of course, like anything else, whenever there's divorce involved or separation, it can get a little messy. And this is all new law. There's not a lot of experience with this. Even if you're talking to your tax preparer of like what to expect, a lot of times even the accountants don't know what to expect at this point because this is also new.
Yeah, we're definitely in unprecedented territory right now.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to react. I was actually, funny story, well, not really funny story, but I was watching, when the whole NBA shut down and everything, I was just reading something. I saw a funny article saying that the last time the NBA shut down was when the Monstars took over. And then I started watching Space Jam after that. They're like, for the safety of the NBA players, we got to shut down. But,
well, now if you look at ESPN, they're actually showing people playing like NBA video games. Like, that's what they're showing on ESPN now because nothing is live anymore. I think they're grasping at straws a little bit.
It's getting pretty bad. Like, I saw on TV the other day on ESPN, they were hosting the 1997 spelling bee.
Well, it's not sport. I don't know what is.
I was like, go! You spell that, girl. You spell that.
Use it in a sentence. Yeah, I hear you.
I am not playing you in Scrabble. Well, do you have any special advice for co-parents at this time? I know you had a video about that recently as well.
You're a little frozen. I don't know if you can still hear me.
I hear you. I said,
so I'm just going to start talking. I think your question is whether I have any advice for, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello?
Huh.
Yeah, I'm here. Do you hear me?
I don't know. I'm just going to start talking.
Okay.
So advice for co-parents right now. This is a really, really tough time for people trying to co-parent. And one of the reasons is that everyone is anxious, everyone is nervous, and no one knows what to expect. So the first question that I got when this all started was, can I suspend my parenting time? Can I not do the exchanges back and forth because I don't want my child leaving my house to go to the co-parent's house? And the short answer to that is you kind of have to do whatever you think is safe for your child. There has not been a direction from the court about exactly what's going to happen with these parenting time exchanges. The issue that we're having, and I will say it's some frustration within the family law practitioners, is that there is no direction. Nobody's telling us exactly this is what you need to do. You can go to one judge and one judge will say, I am not suspending parenting time, follow your court order, do what you have to do. And then you might go to another judge in another county that says something completely different. So the issue is everything is case by case. If you have a child, for example, that has certain issues, ailments, illnesses that might exacerbate some, COVID-19 issues. Like, so for example, if there's severe asthma, if you get something from a doctor that says, your child really can't be around anyone, your child can't leave the house, if there are things that are affecting your child's immune system, that might be a reason that a judge would say we're suspending parenting time. But for the most part, what I am telling people is that if you have a court order, if there's something telling you what is supposed to happen with parenting time and what the exchanges are supposed to be, you need to follow that court order. You can put certain guidelines in place. I know that some parents are coming up with contractual written agreements as to how they're going to handle issues. I did a consent order recently where we talked about whether the child will be wearing a mask, whether the child will have on gloves, hand washing, social distancing. Both parents, basically agreeing that they're going to follow those guidelines that have been put forth by, government officials, by the CDC. All of that can be put in writing that each parent's going to follow those rules, but you can't unilaterally withhold the child and say, I'm not giving you your parenting time because of this. Most judges are not on board with that.
So even with the situation that we're in right now, there's still certain guidelines that people really still have to take in play.
All I heard was guidelines.
So even with the situation right now, there's no specifics. One sec. I apologize. My internet connection is very poor these days. Comcast is not the best. Hello? Do you hear me? Hello? One second, guys. A little bit of technical difficulties.
To keep the lines of communication open as far as what you're telling your kids. And there are a lot of reports that are coming out now, from psychologists, especially how to explain the situation to children. You want to make sure that you're on the same page as far as that's concerned. You don't want one parent who is, kind of running around like Chicken Little and the other parent who's saying everything's going to be okay, because then kids get confused. So you do need to be on the same page. You need to make it age appropriate how you're explaining all of this to them. And you also want to be honest with them and not lie to them about what's going on, because they're going to be even more afraid if you're not being honest about the situation. So communication between the parents is really important. Another thing that I would talk to parents about, and I have posted videos about this too, if you are a parent where the two of you have decided, because some parents do decide, we're not going to do parenting time exchanges right now. The children are going to stay at your house and be there, and then until this is over, I'm not going to actually have physical time with them. This is a really good time to use technology, and we're all kind of getting up to snuff on the technology because people haven't used Zoom before and now using Zoom. But this is the time to try to use technology so that you can continue to create a bond with your children. FaceTime, doing Zoom meetings with them, maybe going to, like house party and playing games with them, things that you can do online with them, sharing movies with them, maybe opening up your account so that the two of you can watch the same movie and talk about it. All of those things are important. And even though it doesn't feel the same because you're not physically with the kids, you're not with them, it does still have an impact, and it does still give them a connection with you. So that's number one. And number two, don't be very hard on yourself. I know sometimes people come to me upset because they were trying to FaceTime and the child didn't want to FaceTime and they're getting off and it's 5 minutes, that's all I had, and the child's running away. Children have short attention spans, so even if you can't do an hour of FaceTime, it's still better than nothing. It's still better than not having any connection with them at all.
I mean, it's the dot that counts, right?
It kind of is, because it's better that than the child saying like, hey, I didn't see mom for 6 weeks, or I didn't see dad for 6 weeks. You kind of have to take what you can get right now. I mean, and understand that, especially if you have young kids, you ain't getting an hour of FaceTime. It's not going to happen. Like the child's not going to stay for that. So if you can do your FaceTime, see each other, talk, try to use that technology to the best of your advantage so that you can have some time with them.
No, 100% for sure. Thank God for Zoom. Just without these programs, Facebook, Zoom, Instagram, and all these communication tools that we have to our disposal these days, like who knows where we'd be right now, right? It's just
exactly.
If this
Exactly.
happened to us like 10 years ago, we would have been in a lot of trouble.
Oh my goodness. Can you imagine? I actually did think about that recently, like all of the things that we have now. If we all still had like those like crazy flip phones with like no smartphones, no iPads, no, like, could you imagine having to do this if we had like none of the technology to us? Even
Oh,
like Netflix has been saving my life. You know what I mean? Like if we didn't have that, what would we be doing?
HBO Go for me. I finally had time to catch up on Westworld.
I, I haven't started that one, but I don't know. I'm watching all like the normal stuff. I'm doing the Hulu thing. I did Little Fires Everywhere. I started watching that.
I just got my father. Well, we just got my dad into Ozark.
I have not, and I know everybody's gonna say, how are you not into Ozark? I've seen a few episodes of it, but I'm not like into it. I'm not,
It's like Ozark and Tiger King right now. That's everywhere.
I did watch Tiger King. I had to. Everybody was watching it, so I had to.
Carol Baskins did it.
100%.
When O.J. Simpson dropped a TMZ video saying that Carol Baskin did it, you know she did it.
Exactly. Like, I have without a doubt, she fed that man to the tigers. Like I know it. I know it in my soul that she did it. But
hey guys, we just heard it from one of the top New Jersey family attorneys that Carol Baskins did it.
You heard
it. So, speaking of sane relationships these days, do you have any specific advice for quarantine partners?
Yes. So here's what it is. I think that one of the things that you have to be okay with is the fact that you don't need to be together all the time. And I don't think anybody should take it personally. If one person wants to go for a walk, if you want to create some space, a little social distancing in your house from your partner, that might be a good idea to do. I know that not everybody has the space to do that. If you're in a situation where you have a multi-level house and you can do that, great. If you need a multi-level house, you should probably talk to Christopher. He can hook you up with a house with multiple levels. But I know for me, for example, I do all of my work in the basement. My home office is in the basement. I go downstairs, I have my space, so that when I come upstairs at the end of the day, it's not like my partner and I have been together all day. Like I've been downstairs at work, he's upstairs, 5 or 6 o'clock hits, I come upstairs, we have dinner, and it's not like we're together all day. But take walks, go for drives, do things to get a little bit of space from each other, and also be a little bit, you might have to be a little bit more intentional in your own thoughts and comments and feelings, because we are anxious right now. That can make us a little moody, that can make us a little stressed out. So it's okay for you to take a breath before you start that argument about why didn't you wash the dishes. Maybe take a breath and say, am I upset with my partner, or am I just stressed out in general? Am I stressed out about the situation, about the fact that there's a pandemic, about the fact that I can't do the things and move the way that I want to do? And maybe think for a second before you start that confrontation, because a lot of times confrontations are started out of stress and anxiety and not necessarily because our partner did something. So it's okay. It's okay for you to be stressed out, but try not to take that out on the person you're living with, because they're probably stressed out too. So something that's tiny will turn into World War III because everyone is stressed out. Also, like I said, about knowing yourself. So for example, if you know that you get a little bit mouthy after you've had a full bottle of wine, maybe don't have the full bottle of wine. Like maybe this is time that you need to think to yourself, if I know I start drunk fights, like maybe don't be drunk at home right now, because that's just going to rise, make the tension level rise where it's not really necessary to have, the elevation of tension right now. Like try to keep things low. Also, go out and do stress relieving things, whether that's go out and get some exercise, go out for a walk, go for a bike ride, do things to try to keep your mind and body as stress-free as possible, because those things that we're used to doing, we're not doing anymore, or your other stress relieving activities. If, for example, you knew after work every day you would go and, go to a bar and meet friends, and that's how you de-stressed, or that you would, go and do a group CrossFit class, and you can't do that anymore. You have to find things to replace those stress reducing activities so that you're not bringing that tension home.
I've been seeing people do a lot of creative ideas with that also. Like, I know people are doing like, weekly wine get-togethers on Zoom or on Facebook or on Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. I see people doing like, I've seen people doing yoga classes on social media, on Zoom. So, I mean, there's a lot of ideas.
I've attended, I think, more happy hours now than I've ever attended in my life. Like, they're all at home. I mean, like, but I feel like a lot of people are getting really creative with that, of like, let's do a happy hour by Zoom on this day. There was one week, like I want to say it was last week or the week before. I think I had a happy hour like every single night. There was something on Zoom. And then I got to the point where I said, okay, I can't be at happy hour every day. Like, I cannot drink every day. So like some of these I'm going to have to say no to, because and you're there and everybody has their glass of wine. You go, I'll get my glass of wine too. It was like by the time Thursday hit, I had a headache. I said, like, I can't do this. I can't happy hour every day. But there are a lot of creative things that we can do to keep the social ties so that we're not taking it out on our spouses. And if you do take it out on your spouse and you decide that you've had enough, then call me. I'm not saying don't get divorced, trust me, but don't get divorced because of stress from this situation, not because you just want to get divorced anyway. Like, if you want to get divorced anyway, I'm here. We can still get the ball rolling, but don't let this be the situation where it's an artificial need for divorce just because you're stressed out. That's not a good reason.
Robyn is definitely very good at just telling you whether or not this is a move that you should make or not make, because, this is a very, very time sensitive thing, especially, the amount of resources that has to go to it. And, the last thing you want to do is just, there's ways to repair it. There's always ways to repair it. And Robyn's an incredible resource and just trying to give you all the best ideas on how you could, maintain certain things in a relationship.
Yeah, and I actually will tell you that, the people who have been calling me during this crisis saying, I want to get divorced, I usually take a step and I say, are you sure you want to do this right now? Are you sure that you don't want to think about this? Because if this is a situation where you're stressed out because you've been in the house and, he drank the last Gatorade and that was the last straw for you, maybe that's not the last straw. Like, maybe you want to think about this. Maybe you still want to engage in some sort of marital counseling, which a lot of therapists are doing this online. They are doing Zoom sessions with people. You can still get counseling right now, even though you can't go and lay on a couch. Lay on your own couch and open up your Zoom, and you can still get people that will counsel you, whether it's for couples therapy or whether it's for your own individual therapy. You can still get that, available to you even now.
That's awesome. I want to start opening up some questions to see if anybody in this room has any questions. Albert is in here. Brittany's in here. Sally's in here right now. I see Steve Grossman is in here as well. Thank you all for dropping in here. If any one of you guys have any questions for Robyn?
No, actually, I was actually talking to Chris the other day about this, that I was just driving around, and what my wife and I, what we do is we just kind of get in the car and just drive, right? Mm-hmm. Just to go somewhere, just to see a different scenery and all. And it really got me thinking. I'm like, wow, if people don't really think of ways to stay creative and stuff, I can see that there's going to be like a big spike, and divorces, people are just going to get on each other's nerves naturally, and I just thought that was really interesting when you said the space thing, because I feel like, that at least in my home, that's definitely has been, the greatest, tool that's kept us sane, just being able to separate. And, we also have a little one as well. So, when one parent is having like their alone time, I'll take my daughter, or she'll take our daughter, and, give the other person the space that we need to, like you said, to come back upstairs and, feel that, okay, now I can differentiate the two. It's not just all the same thing every day.
Yeah. And one of the things that I think about that is that people tend to believe that wanting your own alone time, wanting your me time or your space means that you don't love your spouse, or that, you should always want to be around your spouse. No, you shouldn't. It's fine if you don't always want to be around your spouse, and no one should take it personally. So if you just say, you know what, I need to go out and go for a drive, that's not in any way a reflection on you as my spouse. That doesn't mean I want to get away from you. That just means I need a second. And that's okay.
No.
Like, it's okay to say, I want to take a drive. I want to go for a walk, and to get creative, even with the things that you're doing together. You know, whether it's, let's go out. I have seen parts of New Jersey that I have never seen, just because I'll say, you know what? It's a weekend. I'm going to get in the car and just drive. And sometimes we just get in the car and drive. You don't have to get out of the car. You don't have to, you know, be around anybody. You don't have to touch people. But like, I've gone out to Hunterdon County for no reason. One of the things I love doing, and Christopher, you will love this. I love looking at houses that are for sale, like big, huge, like dream houses, like the house that's $4 million in like P-Pack Gladstone. I'll just go and find the listing and drive by the house and just look at it. I mean,
you should come with us to one of our broker open house tours whenever that's back to normal.
Exactly. But like, you can just find things that you enjoy doing. And the good thing is that that my partner and I, we both love real estate. So like, he'll get in the car with me and say like, I saw this house that was here. Like, even there were some houses in Mountainside that I've never seen before that were listed for sale. Let's go look at this house. I found like the most expensive house listed in Mountainside and just drove by it. It's actually really close to work. So maybe, you know, maybe that's where I need to go, to this expensive multi-million-dollar house. But you just find creative things to do that are safe, and that are, you know, not going to put you in danger as far as viral issues. But, you know, getting in your car, driving, you know, going out and, you know, have a picnic on your deck, have a date night in the house, you know, maybe throw on some makeup and throw on some heels. I can't remember the last time I've had heels on. Like, throw on, you know what I mean? Like, just do some creative things so that it breaks up the monotony a little bit, that you're not just doing the same thing. It's not like Groundhog Day. So I think that's a great suggestion, as far as you and your wife just going out and driving and giving each other that space. I think we all need that. And that's one of the things that you should do. And quite frankly, one of the things that you should do, even when this is over, you know, it's okay for you to be creative within your marriage, to give yourself space when you need that space. You know, this might be a little bit instructive for us about things that we might need to carry over once this crisis is done. You know, maybe you'll continue to go on drives with your spouse and go explore the state with your spouse, because, you know, you didn't really have to do that before. It was just the usual, let's go to dinner and a movie. Now you're thinking of some more creative things that you could do to spice up the marriage a little bit. And speaking of spicing up the marriage, everybody make sure that you're up on your birth control, because we don't need a boom in pregnancies because we're all spicing up our marriage at home. And 9 months from now, we all have like little baby corona or little baby COVID. We don't need any of that. So make sure that you're doing what you need to do. That's legit legal advice. Make sure that you're using the protection you need to use. I'm sorry. You laugh at me, Chris.
No, I love it. I love it.
Well, I ain't going nowhere. I've been single for like 2 years, so I'm good right now. I'm in no rush. No baby corona from Chris.
This is not the time. This is not the time.
It's a funny story. I told someone the other day, I was like, you know, I was planning on staying single for at least another year. And then, you know, I was like, you know, I started exploring a little bit, just seeing what was out there, and just, but, you know, with this whole COVID situation, it looks like I'm going to keep my promise anyway. So,
well, you know, again, use the technology, get out there, have some Zoom dates, and then tell us about them.
Right.
And I'm having fun with just focusing on me and just building the business and just trying to focus. You know, I mean, we've been super busy, and out. You know, we've been dealing with transaction after transaction. Surprisingly, you know, like Kathy said the other day on our last podcast, that, you know, for some, you know, unlike the last crisis, you know, the last crisis was a real estate crisis. This is not a real estate crisis. Yeah. You know. And, you know, rates are extremely low right now. We just recently had a client approved for right under 3.5, and which is extremely low in comparison to, you know, what people typically paying on, you know, on a typically, you know, on a good day.
Right.
So activity is happening right now. Buyers are looking right now. Sellers are, just a little bit more hesitant when putting houses on the market, understandably. But at the same time, transactions are happening, and transactions aren't going to stop because of this. I think my team and I have been putting in pretty strong CDC guidelines. And, whenever we do go through showings, we keep a very, very strong social, we obviously keep very strong social distancing procedures in play. Albert could tell you a little bit more about that if he wants to go over that, elaborate on that a little bit. But for sure, we are in completely unprecedented times. Not to drift away out of the subject that we're going in. But we are in extreme unprecedented times right now, and it's unfortunate that we are in the situation that we're in. But at the same time, we are all unlike any other situation. Like even like the terrorist attack 9/11. With given certain circumstances, we are kind of in the same playing field in regards to the fact that this virus doesn't discriminate against anybody. It's affecting every single person on the globe in some way or fashion. Maybe some people more than the others, but at the same time, it is playing an effect to someone's life. Everybody in the world knows somebody that's being affected by this.
Right.
And it's really important for us to really just do our parts to make sure that when we come out of this, that it doesn't look like, that we don't just walk into a bigger mess than we came into.
I think that is really important, and one of the things that we have to keep in mind of what lessons are we learning from this time, and making sure that we carry those lessons forward after this is done, because it's really easy to have that convenient amnesia, like this is all over, and then all of a sudden you forget all of the lessons that you learned, which is why I'm saying, even with people doing creative things within their marriages, keep doing that when this is over. Just because this crisis is over doesn't mean you shouldn't take that lesson and say, I'm going to move that forward. And we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we forget what we've learned, or we're so, we're in such a rush to get back to normal that we end up in a worse situation because we rush back out to go and do all of the things that we've wanted to do and have that sense of normalcy. We are going to have to keep some of these precautions in place. And I was also glad to hear you talking about, just from a real estate perspective, keeping things moving and the things that you're putting in place so that things can happen. I know that I'm telling my clients, especially the ones that are either already divorced or in the middle of a divorce, and the house is an issue, I am saying to them, we can still list your house. That can still happen. Like, I don't want you to think that everything has to be at a standstill, because we have the tools where we can still get your house listed. I've seen online, especially, virtual showings that are happening. Like, people are going in, safely, just that one agent going in and showing the house. And I know that you have all of this crazy technology about, the way that you photograph and do videos and all of these things for virtual walkthroughs. All of these things can happen. So, the process can continue, and whether it's the real estate process or the divorce process or whatever, we can move forward. When people call me and they say, can we continue to move forward? Can I move my case forward? Can I list my house? Yes, all of those things can happen. You can still make that happen. I know closings are still happening. I'm seeing, people I know that are in the real estate industry, they're doing closings every single day. Things are still closing and things are still moving. So I just want to make sure that people know that they don't think everything has to be at a standstill, because if you get the right professionals like yourself, if you get the right professionals, they're going to help you to make sure that this stuff is moving. So, all of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The other day, actually, I drove by a property that was a FSBO, and I which is a for sale by owner. So I actually gave him a call and I was like, hey, I might have a client that's interested or whatnot. So we were talking about how, they were like, well, obviously you can't come to the house because of this, the pandemic and all. I was like, no, I totally understand that. Would you actually mind taking a quick walkthrough of the home so that my client can have a better idea of what everything looks like? And and for me, I feel like those are like the type of things that agents are, or just people in general who are trying to sell their homes, they're willing to work with you that way, so yeah, I feel like everybody's on board to keep the business moving as steady as we can, with all this chaos going on.
We are in chaotic times for sure, 100%.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, Robyn, do you
Yeah.
have anything else that you want to, that you want to tell the audience, or any other suggestions or anything else that you have on your mind?
There is something that I have on my mind, and I know that, we try to keep things as light and as positive as we can during this particular time period. But there is something that I feel like I need to point out, because it's something that I do a lot of, that I work a lot with victims of domestic violence. And I think we have to talk about that. Even if it's, a little bit of a downer, it's important. One of the things that we're all very concerned about within this industry is that because there are a lot of people that are ordered to shelter in place with their abuser. And that's not a safe environment for them. So even though they're supposed to be home and quarantined, if you are a survivor of domestic violence or a current victim of domestic violence and you're being ordered to shelter in place with your abuser, there are resources out there. You still can call the domestic violence hotline. I know that here in Union County, at the very least, the YWCA is very, very active. The Family Justice Center is still open from 8:30 to 4:30. You can still call if you need that resource. You can call the domestic violence hotline here in Union County. That there are still mechanisms in place to get you help if you need help. So if you need a temporary restraining order, you can still call the police. You can still go to the courthouse and they'll direct you what to do. All of those things are still available for you. You can, if you do have an attorney already, a lot of people don't, but if you are, for example, going through a divorce and you have an attorney and you need that attorney to go through a safety plan with you, those attorneys will do that. And if you need more information at all, if you're feeling like you're not safe, you need to understand that you're not alone. There are resources out there. Hit me up on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it is, and I will give you all the numbers that you need of where you need to call if you feel that you need help. Because one of the unfortunate and very sad byproducts of a situation like this is that there isn't anticipated, or we do anticipate, there's going to be a spike in instances of domestic violence because everyone is home together. And like I said, tensions are high, anxieties are high, stress is high. And if you were in a domestic violence situation before and now you're hunkered down with your abuser, that can be a very unsafe time for you. And maybe if there wasn't an issue of domestic violence before, but because stress is so high, you're in a situation where you feel unsafe now and that's new to you, there are still ways for you to get the help that you need. So I just want to make sure that I put that out there because it's really important for me that people do know that.
Oh no, that's really important because we are in some crazy times right now, and we like once again, going back to all these other questions, is the biggest, the one thing they all have in common is what we're gonna do, when we're all stuck together in the same house, so this is no different than what that is specifically, especially with people like that. We don't want, the last thing you want to do is allow COVID-19 being a reason why you're delaying the
Exactly.
inevitable, essentially.
Yeah. So if you need help, it's there. Everybody thinks that everything is shut down. It's not. These resources that have been in place are still there, and they have found ways. I actually talked to the director of the Family Justice Center in Union County. She has all of the calls routed to her cell phone. Like somebody will pick up. So, don't think that you can't call because everything is closed. There are people there that can help you.
That's good to know. That's really good to know. Well, thank you so much, Robyn. I'm going to leave your information on an edited video. So once this is done, obviously the one on Facebook that we have right now, that's in cell phone view, it's still going to be up, but we're going to post up an edited one later on with some with her Instagram information and whatever contact information you need to get in touch with Robyn over here, especially in these crazy times. If you guys need help, she's definitely here for you guys.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Thank you, Robyn.
Thank you, Robyn.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you. This is a lot of fun.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.